how BNGO's Q2 revenue could beat estimates in a big way, right? So basically, it's just more sapphires installed and sold that we know about, that the public knows about this quarter than pretty much any other quarter that we have ever, that I know of, okay, to my understanding. Okay, I've not been following Bionano for years, though. All right, I found out about them. When they were about $2, and I have been following them pretty heavily, as you know. But basically, the rundown is this. Okay, we've got more sapphire installations that we know, and because of the China sales and because of the exposure, because of some other reasons that we're going to go over, and I'm going to read to you at least most of this, the conclusion is that there's a very high chance of Bionano beating Q2 revenue estimates if the estimates actually are what Chartmill is saying, which is going to be 3.608 million, which would represent, if we were to match that, 205% year-over-year growth, which is insane already, right? But if we go down here, if I just give you a little teaser here, we are going to be thinking, well, let me see if I can find it here, okay? There you go. 4.3 million is my estimate based on this is my preliminary, right? You guys know we like on this channel, we really like to do the revenue projections for the quarters, and we've only done one so far, right? Because the channel hasn't been around that long, but we do like to do the revenue projections. My preliminary estimates, as you see, that is my total estimated revenue for this quarter from Lineagen and Sapphire sales plus recurring revenue estimate, and that is not including the diagnostics or Quest Diagnostics and Illumina and other companies owing us money. That's not counting that stuff. That's not counting those. That's the only stuff that I'm counting in the revenue, right? There are other revenue streams that we get that are not a part of the sales, Lineagen, or the recurring consumable stuff. There are other revenue streams, not many, but those are the main three, and that's what this is. That's what that calculation is based on. For example, we offer the services, right? We do the services for Bionano. You can actually just mail them your samples or send them the blood samples, tissue samples, whatever, or you can send them that stuff, and they can just send you the results, and you just pay per genome or whatever. Also, reagent rental program, right? That's money as well. And there's other revenue streams as well that I'm sure I'm forgetting. So without anything else, let's just go ahead and read most of this. I want to give you the rundown as to how I got to the conclusion that, this estimate of 3.6 million is undershooting it. I want to preface by saying that if this estimate is wrong, if this estimate is outdated, right, according to Chartmill, that's what it is. It's updated. But if this is going to be, if the estimate is going to be updated and rising, that would be great if it is. Okay, heck yeah, I'll take as long as we're making 200% year-over-year revenue growth. I'm happy, right? But at the end of the day, we're only going to get a huge beat if the estimate is this lower or close to it. So without any further ado, let's just read the shit. Shut up, Brandon. Read the shit, right? The more sapphires installed, the more sapphires that were sold in the aggregate, right? In overall, in the whole, not in one little piece, right? Overall, with almost 20 days left in the quarter, the more sapphires installed, the more sapphires that were sold in the aggregate. With almost 20 days left in the quarter, right? The public has already seen several sapphires installed and sold, and we're going to go over those, and we have the links and the evidence to actually substantiate that claim. Remember, we do not report the sapphire sales during a quarter, not all of them, right? Nor do they release PR detailing the installations. Nor do we see this many installations and sales in one quarter typically. Sapphire sales and installations listed here are all the ones that we have found, keyword that we have found from the actual customers themselves. That's not Bionano. That's kind of the key, right? Bionano is not like going out and saying, okay, here's all of our sales, right? It would be easy for us to calculate the revenue, and no one else is digging this deep, so no one really knows what we're looking at based on the third party / customers giving us the information that we have, right? And if we go down here, okay, we've got 5 links of sapphire installations that happened between the end of Q1 and now. So basically April 1st to present day. And as we talked about right here, I'm going to list reasons why revenue beat may be probable, and the estimate is going to be 3.608 million, and the prior was this. And obviously, this is going to represent a humongous year-over-year revenue growth. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the total. Here's the thing: we're going to get almost 100% year-over-year revenue growth if we continue on the path that we are right now. We're at least going to get more than 50%. And the CFO has said that we're going to get substantial revenue growth, double-digit revenue growth year-over-year. So without any further ado, all right, here we go. Sapphire installations. So I'm not going to go over all of these. I just want to show you what we're kind of dealing with here, right? In each one of these, another sapphire. This time it's the MGZ in this place right here, right? Sapphire everywhere. So there's another installation. That's kind of how we're going That's kind of how we're finding this stuff, right? Twitter, obscure places, right? That's an employee. Joe Butler is an employee of Bionano, but most of these are just from the companies that are actually getting, or the university / institution / whatever that is getting the actual Sapphire itself. So I'll link the post in the pinned comment. You can go fact check me on the rest of these. But right now, for the China Sapphire adoptions, these three right here, this is almost $900,000 in revenue. All right, now are they accounting for that in their estimate? Probably not. And this is what we're dealing with. Okay, you can go and check the links if you want. Right, it's literally in look at the title. It's literally in Chinese. But if you go here and you translate it, there you go. You see the unit price right here. And if you translate that from the Chinese yuan to USD, this is what you get. That's at least what I got, right? I guess my math could be technically wrong, but we already fact-checked this with other people, so not really. All right, next up. So 14.3 sapphires being sold on average, right? 14.3. All right, 14-ish, right? The 14.3 is what 43 divided by 3 is, I believe, if I'm remembering the math that I did, right? So that's the sapphire. That's how many sapphires are going to be sold for quarter 2, 3, and 4. Sold each quarter. Sorry, sold each quarter. Okay, I should have made that clear. This year is essentially what management said, or it's projecting, given their 43 sapphires to be sold this year, and that was on May 13th. However, I think there may be closer to be 15, maybe 15, 25 sapphires sold this quarter for a few reasons. So first one, to my knowledge, there are not greater than 5 sapphire sales, adoptions / installations in a quarter that retail knows about it before ER. Certainly not with almost 20 days left in the quarter, right? And remember, the company does not report the sapphire sales often during the quarter. Typically, only time they will is in ERs, which is earnings reports, okay? Third reason, right? As time goes on, the exposure and academic praise of the sapphire is likely to increase sales in the aggregate. At the end of the day, there is nothing in the world that detects 500 base pairs to mega base pairs in structural variants like the sapphire. With the cost per genome reducing from $450 to $550 per genome to $100 per genome by the end of 2023 at the latest, sales should only increase on a year-over-year basis, quarterly and annually. Now, of course, you may be wondering, Brandon, why would the sales increase this quarter and the revenue increase this quarter if this change from genome is going to get lower only by 2023? Well, that's a good point, but that does not. I mean, this is more down the line stuff, right? This is going to decrease, but there's nothing to negate the point that is, if you want greater than 500 base pair structural variant detection, you are going to want a sapphire. It's just more, it's cost effective, higher throughput, faster turnaround, less hands-on time, easier to use, better detection, right? There's no reason why you would use a karyotyping or FISH or CMA crap, right? If you are a serious lab with any sort of volume coming in with samples and data that you actually, and genomes that you actually want to analyze, Sapphire is the way to go. There's no doubt. There's no one that comes to mind as far as competition. So that's why. Number 4, compound annual growth rate of the genomic space is high, and demand for cytogenetics is only going to increase, meaning more customers for Bionano as more time goes on. And this is why, and these last two are kind of just reasons why, as time goes on, it's just more likely. That's just one reason that just makes it more likely that we're just going to see a revenue line year over year like this. That's just how it is. I mean, that's how Chartmill and Simply Wall Street and the analysts are projecting it. I mean, that's as simple as it gets. Yeah, so some of that is down the line, but in my opinion, there's no doubt that some of these, if not all of these reasons above, have contributed to some degree in quarter 2 sales. Company's rough estimate for sapphires to behold. Okay, so basically, this is basically 17 times 175,000. So this is what the company is most likely essentially projecting for this quarter to be sold. Essentially, it's kind of complicated how we got here. Okay, you can read the post or you can just read right here and you can kind of understand it. But basically, 175K. There's actually dissenting, so feel free to clear this up here, but in several different articles, there's different calculations as to how much one sapphire costs. And with the China sapphire adoptions, the prices vary so much, so it's kind of complicated and hard to figure out. But basically, 150 to 250 to 150 to 200K, that's what the price of the sapphire seems to be, by consensus, that's what most people think it is. So I'm going to go with 175K. If you times those, you get $2.5 million in revenue, and that's this quarter. That seems like a lot. That's like, whoa, it's a lot, right? But my projection is going to be 17, just to be conservative, right? You saw in the above thing, right? I am projecting more like 15 to 20 right here, 15 to 20 sapphires to be sold this quarter, and I gave you my reasoning, right? And if that were to happen, right, 15 to 20, if there were to be 25, it'd be way more than 3 million. But this, if it was going to be 17, it would be about 2.9 million in revenue. You got to throw in Lineagen, right? They are a Bionano subsidiary, right? We acquired them in August of last year, right? They are likely to bring in at least 700K for the quarter based on their previous numbers, right? And that's an extremely conservative estimate, in my opinion, because not only did we get some news and some PR with some Lineage and stuff and some increased headcount stuff for Lineage, but we know they brought in 1.5 million in 5 months last year with the increased regulatory environment because of COVID. Now, there's not much regulations, or at least not as many. Plus, they did 1.5 million, more than double 700K in 5 months. I halved what they did in 5 months. I less than halved that to 700K. So it's more likely that they're getting about 1 million, close, or 800, 900K most likely this quarter. That's more likely. So we're going to be conservative though and say it's 700K. So what do you get? If you add those numbers together, right? If we're going to go by the companies, right? Let's just round 14.3 up to 15, right? To give myself the benefit of the doubt a little bit, but we're still conservative, right? My projection is going to be 17-ish, right? That's rough. Okay, that's not my actual 100% projection. I'm not this is the rough estimate. Okay, this is how BNGO's quarter two revenue could be estimates in a big way. These are not my actual quarter two like set in stone projections. But basically, this is an idea. This is like a draft. Think of this like a draft almost, right? If we do 15 sapphires, if we add that to the lineage and revenue that we kind of just calculate, that's going to be 3.3 million in revenue. And of course, you may be like, okay, dude, this is getting boring at this point. What the hell? Does this have a point at all? Well, remember the estimate that we talked about. The estimate for this quarter that we are estimating and all going over right now, this is what the analysts are projecting, 3.608 million based on the lineage and sapphire sales alone. We are already almost above and to the estimate, right? This is what we're up to right now if the sapphire sales are going to be basically what it is and lineage and gets 700K for the quarter. We are already basically beating estimates, okay? That's as simple as it gets. This is extremely exciting and more exciting than you realize, I think, because the reoccurring revenue through chips and cost per genome to be mapped equates for, based on the below model, roughly 1/3 way more like that. Okay, we're going to be extremely conservative and say 1/3 because I don't want any. I would rather under promise and over deliver and undershoot it. Roughly 1/3 of sapphire sales in revenue, right? The revenue that we get from reoccurring revenue is roughly 1/3 of what we get from the sapphire revenue. I hope that makes sense. This means that of the 2.6 million from the sapphire sales, the reoccurring part of Bionano's business will likely bring in conservatively 700K, right? If you look right here, okay, for the cytogenetic stuff, in the cytogenetic world here, we're basically getting over half of what we're getting here, right? It's a little bit weird, right? Because the ladder here is closer to the ladder here, but then the former is like, well, that's less than half, so it's like, that's kind of hard to calculate. But let's just call that half, right? But then if you go right here, this one is a little bit less than half, but it's pretty close. So basically, I would say it's about 45% to 55%. The reoccurring revenues, right? And you look at this, okay, estimated revenues, sales. This is sales, not this is sale revenue, sapphire sales. This is what we're getting for the annual reoccurring consumable chips. Those are the kind of things that, and pigments, okay, all the stuff that you have to buy after you actually have a sapphire, the software, right? All this stuff. And the software comes free, but I think you might have to pay to continue to use it. Anyways, cost per every time they analyze a genome, I know that for sure, right? $450 to $550 every time they want to analyze a genome and get the results. So, anyways, regardless of all that, right? This is a lot of money that they're getting in, and right, we have not even added that in to our freaking estimate yet, and we're already almost over and matching the 3.608 million revenue estimate from Chartmill. So I actually just realized as I was shooting this just like 5 seconds ago that I actually missed the freaking calculations. I had this at 4.3 million because I'm an idiot, but it's actually 4 million because I had 3.608 million when it's actually 3.308 million because I guess I accidentally did the I accidentally threw in the estimate when our actual projection was this, which is honestly fine because, you know, it's basically, I mean, let's be honest here, between you and me, the revenue estimates should be more. I mean, it should be more like 4.3 million, but even based on our very conservative estimates, we're getting 4 million in revenue, which beats the 3.608 million estimates. And this is without services. This is without the 1.5 million that would be paid to us potentially this quarter. This is without the reagent rental revenue, and there's other revenue sources as well that I'm sure I'm not even aware of. Maybe, okay, actually probably not, but maybe. All right, but anyways, the revenue, that's the estimate. And if sales increase as much as the installation and sales above lead me to believe, then quarter two revenue will beat expectations in a big way, increasing about 210 to 250% year over year. Also, you can go ahead and read the speculation about impairment if you would like, the large orders, and then also, it's going to be the link to the Reddit thread is going to be linked in the description, or the pinned comment, excuse me. And for the conclusion, right? So your ape language is this. Okay, so a high chance, well, your ape language is going to be too long to read, but basically summing it up. High chance of us beating Q2 revenue estimates, more installations, reported sales to public, and exposure and publicity in Q2, and then arguably any quarter prior for BNGO. Add in the fact that there's been an extremely high amount of studies and publications that have utilized Sapphire since April. Not only did they have to buy a Sapphire or at least rent one, but they had to pay $450 to $550 per genome analyzed. Pair this with the revenue models above, and one has a strong case to be made that revenue will beat estimates in Q2. And you're too long didn't read, right? If you didn't focus through any of this, you're like, dude, why am I watching this still? I'm about to click off. It is very likely that BNGO beats revenue estimates for Q2, in my opinion, based on the above numbers. And it's going to be linked in the pinned comment if you want, or if you just rewatch it, whatever. Anyways, with that being said, I will leave you with that, and that's your ape language. That's essentially what it is. Okay, I'll read it one more time, or I'll say it in a little bit different way. High chance of beating revenue estimates if they're going to be 3.608 million, which is what SharpMill has them at right now. With that being said, I will leave you with showcasing my portfolio, which is right here. There's the portfolio, there's the history, there's the current holdings, which is all BNGO and one BlackBerry share for some reason, which I just don't even care about this. Okay, I keep forgetting to sell this if it ever goes up during the intraday last week, at least I was. With that being said, this is not financial advice though. Thank you so much. I will see y'all in next.